Yes, people, welcome back to another video. And again, I'm recording on Nottingham Forest because only when I put my video out yesterday, thank you to all the guys and girls that have been watching, subscribing, liking the video and enjoying the content. Thank you very much. The bomber has happened. Nuno Espirito Santo has been sacked and Ange Postecoglou is in as the Nottingham Forest manager. Now, I can't say I'm shocked, but the way that the approval of the manager has happened, it's been quick. Nuno out, Ange in. That tells me everything I need to know, that this was pre-agreed, this was all arranged, and it was a done deal and confirmed. It was literally a formality of getting rid of Nuno and Marinakis moving on to his next option. Well, you now know, guys, they've got the Greek connection. Marinakis and Postecoglou unite at Nottingham Forest. And what does that now mean for the Midlands Football Club? Because only yesterday, people saw me doing a transfer video rating the Nottingham Forest signings, discussing the type of players that they've got into the football club. And first of all, the thing that I noticed with this football club is they want to change the way they play football. They now want to be able to adapt. They now want to be able to control games. And you've now gone for a manager who likes to dominate the ball, who likes to have possession, who likes to play high press, who likes to play further up the pitch. And now we potentially might see a different Nottingham Forest. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is say, Nuno, you did do a good job. What you done with Nottingham Forest last year, no one even fathomed it. People had them in the relegation candidates. People had them 15th or below. To turn them into a team that got into Europe, and you're now bringing European football to the City Ground, fair play. Because now you guys that are watching this, you fans, are going to be able to experience an opportunity of a lifetime. Some of you may not have even watched European football at the City Ground, but now you will. Maybe you can take your little ones. Maybe you can go with your elder people in your family and go for days out and cherish it. And I hope you do. But now you are going to see a slight difference in the football. And we're going to talk about it because, guys, like and subscribe. Nuno has left and Ange has come in. 60-year-old Ange, who was left by Spurs in the summer. Won them a Europa League, gave them the trophy that they've all been looking for, all wanted to celebrate. But unfortunately, the league form was just not good enough. Losing nearly 20 league games as a Tottenham manager was completely unacceptable. However, he did bring them the trophy. So, yes, you take the bad side, but you take the good. However, they said they want to move in a different direction. But Andrew, the manager, I have to say, I do think he's a good manager. I do think he's a good manager. I look at Ange, he's had his time in Japan. He's had his time at Celtic where he's very successful. And he came to the Premier League. And look, I'm not going to forget that first 6 to 7 months of his time at Tottenham Hotspur in the first season. They were playing some brilliant football. They was in the title race after Christmas. And then the wheels kind of fell off. And then it kind of has gone bleak since then. However, you saw the positive signs. You saw what he could do to a football club. You could see how he transformed them from the football they were playing under Pochettino, Mourinho and Nuno, for example, and Conte, and then they brought in him, who changed the approach, had the fans enjoying themselves, had the fans believing for that short spell. And look, sometimes it doesn't always work out the way you wanted it to work out, but he did bring them a trophy. However, the change in what he done at Tottenham so quickly, the impact he had, the managerial skills that he had as well. He seems like a very direct, a very straight person. You're either on board or you're not on board. He's going to come and he's going to put his authority and stamp his mark there. The players are going to have to get on board with it quick. Ange doesn't mess around. Ange doesn't play around. And maybe, unfortunately for Nuno, and I'm not trying to badmouth him at all, but maybe it was time that, were they going to improve? Were they going to get any better under Nuno? It's a question you don't know. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. I didn't say on my video that I think Nuno should be sacked or anything like that. I was kind of in the frame now of, okay, they've beaten Brentford, they've drawn with Crystal Palace, and then they've lost to West Ham, which was a very damaging defeat before the international break. I was kind of like, let's wait and see, and what happens. Because the first thing about Nuno, what I was going to question, maybe in the next 4 or 5 weeks, which fans might be getting excited about now, was you've got a lot of new signings. You've got a lot of fresh faces. Back was coming, Calamuendo, McAtee, Hutchinson, Savona, Douglas Luiz. And a lot of these players so far haven't touched the football pitch. Now, is that a concern? I'm not saying it's a concern because this is the Premier League. it's the most physical and the quickest league in the world. A lot of players need time to adjust. And maybe Nuno was like, do you know what? I'm going to give you time to get fit. I'm going to give you time to train over the international break, and then I will ease you in. But I do know that some Nottingham Forest fans out there, maybe you guys watching, were getting a bit restless that you haven't seen some of them new players included yet. Dan Ndoye seems to be the only one that's really starting and getting the nailed on minutes. However, now, when you look at the signings that you've brought in with that sort of control with Douglas Luiz, with that creativity of Hutchinson, McAtee, Callum Owendo coming in, Dan Ndoye, was Nuno the right manager for those type of players? That's the question I'm asking you guys that are watching. Let me know in the comments if you truly believe that, because that was going to be my question mark over Nuno. Because I've seen him play with the back five at Wolves. I've seen him play with that sort of at Nottingham Forest and then change it to obviously a back four. But you're playing a lot in transition. You weren't able to control games. You weren't able to pin teams back. You weren't able to dominate possession. And now when I look at you guys back in Europe, I said it. When you signed Douglas Luiz, I thought you're trying to change the approach. You're trying to go with the approach of, can you change games in terms of having more control, dominating the ball more, find different ways to win. And now with Ange Postecoglou coming in, I do believe that this could be a very exciting time for Nottingham Forest and the fans. Look, if it does work, you guys are going to see some entertaining football. You're going to see some fast football. You're going to see some dominating football. And I think maybe you might be ready for that now. Douglas Luiz, Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White, the players I've just mentioned that have signed. You've got Murillo, you've got Ola Aina. You've got Nico Williams there. You've got players that can get forward. You've got players that can create. You've got players that can score goals. And maybe now this is the right time to flip the script and go for a different approach. Now, some people have reservations, say, look, I saw his time at Tottenham. I weren't really that impressed. Some people see this first 6 months. Some people see what he done at Celtic, even though Celtic are used to winning trophies up there. But, this is a manager that is going to come in and he's going to play his way. And we saw him do that at Tottenham. We saw him not budge on the way of his philosophies. And, some players even thanked him when he left. It didn't leave on a bad note. It just didn't work out. However, I think this is a manager now that can bring good football entertainment to Nottingham Forest. And when I look at the signings you have made, people, I do think you might need that type of approach now to get the best out of your creative outlets. You don't just want to be playing on transition, Hudson-Odoi, Elanga last season. Why not have a bit more control of games? Why not get your players into forward positions? Why not have more control? More control leads to more chances, more to possession leads to more goals, hopefully, and, more wins. Because what Nuno done last year was brilliant. I'm not taking anything away from that, but was it sustainable? And already the defeat to West Ham was a damaging defeat. That is something that you're not really used to Forest happening in the last 2 years. So I'm really intrigued by this move from Marinakis. I think this has been a clear plan that he's wanted Ange. He's liked him for a little while. We've seen that the market is not great with a lot of managers out there now. My tip to be a bit different was Marco Rose, who managed Leipzig, German manager. I think he could have come with differences, and helped with that formation. He plays 4-2-2-2. I think you've got a lot of players that suit that now at Forest. But Ange's probably going to come in 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, but he's going to play attacking football. Express yourselves. Go out there and do what you can do. And I feel like you've now got players that can do that. I'm so excited to see Ndoye, Bakwa, Gibbs-White, Callum Owendo. You've got now players, people, at Forest, which can excite. You've got depth in your squad. And look, he's managed in Europe before in terms of playing in the European competitions. So he knows what to do in them type of moments as well. He will use the squad smartly. But this is a big move. And, there was other managers out there like Jose Mourinho that was touted for the job. I don't think that would have been the right fit. A pragmatic coach that I think his best years are behind him. And when it doesn't go well for Mourinho, it doesn't go well. Players fall out. Fans become restless. He starts saying stuff in press conferences that don't really back the board, or, starts calling out the board. And I think you don't need that now. You want to be a club that now you're back in Europe. You want that harmony. You want that togetherness. And hopefully Ange can now bring that. And I feel like he wanted the Premier League. He's recharged. He's ready to go. He's a hungry manager that wants to impress and get fans on board. And now we are going to see what happens. But Nottingham Forest fans, let me know in the comments what you think about this move. Ange Postecoglou, the 60-year-old Greek manager, joining the football club. I think it could be the step in the right direction. I'm happy to say to about a manager, you know, it might not work to that club, but I can see your credentials. I can see the football you're trying to play. I can see your principles. And we saw that at Tottenham, whether you like it or not. We definitely saw that at Tottenham Hotspur. So, guys, let me know. I hope the Nottingham Forest fans have enjoyed my content. If you haven't already, please watch the transfer video after this. I hope you do enjoy it. And smash a like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Big up.